So we're gonna get this started on YouTube, and then we're gonna go. We got that's a duo that's coming in the room right now. Cam Brent and Mark Webb.
Huh.
Wait. Okay. So with that, welcome back, everybody. It was a year ago tomorrow that we had the first ever e-conference, and we were all bummed because Maps Maps was canceled, and it's like, oh well, we'll be there for IPS and SEPA and LIPS and GLIPA and all the other this year.
Yeah,
So yeah, what a year it's been. So thank you all for joining us today, and as we reminisce on the last year, and I know we've got some. This is the most packed e-conference we've ever had. I believe there are 12 different segments. So it's papers and recurring and all of your favorite stuff, and like Anna's back with the long German words of the pandemic. I mean, it's real good stuff today, and so it's an honor to be here with all of you. I remember how it felt on day one, and it was very somber, and we had no idea what was going to happen, and that this was all going to just, like, I don't know, blow over in a couple of days or weeks or months. And man, what a decade the last year has been, honestly. And so today the idea was like, let's get together, let's have some fun. And I think most importantly, another space and another time to be able to just talk to each other about what it's been like, what we've learned, and how good things have gotten, bad things have gotten. And it's equally as important for us to remember there are several planetariums and planetarians that are no longer actively able to participate in the field. It has been tough for a lot of people. It's the layoffs, and it's the cutbacks, and it's no revenue, and it's also the fact that a lot of us, developed a bunch of new talents and a bunch of new skills that we never thought we would need. And whether you've got a fixed dome, or you're in a museum, or we've got our portable planetarium folks today, everybody has adapted, and we've evolved as a community. And I guess the one thing that I'll say before we kind of turn it over to everybody for just a conversation is, for those of us who have been in this field for any length of time, like any appreciable length of time, it certainly feels like we are tighter as a community, more connected as a community, more caring as a community than we've ever been before. And that's fantastic. And the fact that we've been able to build relationships with people around the world, and that we've got faces that we haven't seen in a long time, it has been one of the very optimistic things that's come out of COVID. And I think more than anything, that's something for us to be able to hang our hats on, is that we've been able to make it through this for the most part, and had this community continue to grow and continue to prosper. So looking forward, hopefully, to a really good 2021. I hope we have some good news in the next couple of weeks about maybe where we might be visiting in a maybe the end of June, visiting someplace somewhere in the mountains of Tennessee, perhaps. We'll see how that goes. But throughout the year, to be able to take, at some point, just show of hands, how many of you would like to go to a conference today, all things considered? It's like a lot of us, COVID notwithstanding, we all just want to see other people and see them in person. So, hey, here's to 2021. Here's to the future and what we've got. So now just, how is everybody else doing? Like, going ahead, unmute, go crazy. It's a conversation time. How is the beginning of 2021 treating everybody? Julieta, good question. I know some of you like to talk, so please.
Okay, I'll go.
There we go.
Debate, Michael.
Thanks, Ken.
We are doing the very basic beginnings of design and study briefs for the possibility of building another planetarium. So it's very serious. Architects are involved. We could be going before the state legislature with something like this pretty soon. For now, please keep this under your hat. of course, because this is all very new and developing right now, but it's a really nice piece of good news. That's about time.
Who's next? Who wants to try to top Ken Brandt?
You know, I'll chime in, and I'm gonna go a little bit out of just the specifics of the planetarium community, and just encourage everybody to, even as the light at the end of the tunnel approaches and it appears to in fact be sunlight, give yourself a lot of grace here, because I'm what I'm seeing in a lot of my friends and family, and I think it's pretty universal human experience, is we've got a lot of deferred kind of trauma, and not just the last year for many of us. And so coming back out of it, I'm relieved that I feel like I'm probably going to be vaccinated within a few weeks, and I'm going to be, you know, my parents are vaccinated, and like we're able to kind of get our shoulders down off our ears a little bit. But there are a lot of feelings I think we've all experienced that we've just had to compartmentalize just to get through it. Just kind of had to suck it up and be patient and deal. And that doesn't mean the feelings are gone. So there's going to be joy, but there's going to be more pain still as we cope with that. And just be patient with yourself. When you have a heavy day, don't be down on like, why am I having a heavy day now? Everything's fine now. Because, okay, it may be July and everything's fine, or September or whatever, and everything's fine today, but that doesn't mean that the not fine time is all processed out yet.
Chris, you always have words of wisdom.
So recreational marijuana is now legal in Michigan, and as you can probably imagine, we're smelling it everywhere.
Timely.
Mike, if I can, I'd like to quickly dovetail that. The Great Lakes Planetarium Association is holding their 2021 annual conference in Kalamazoo, Michigan this November. So please join everyone as we toke our way across the planetarium world. And Mike, if you've got more to say, I was happy to just do that PSA for the state of Michigan.
No, you know I have to always inject something crazy.
It's legal here now in Arizona too, and so I'm interested to see how Pink Floyd will be once we start doing that again. Hopefully soon.
Washington State has just made it mandatory.
I predict, as a one-time laserist, I predict that you will detect almost no difference.
Let's check in real quick with Amy Gallagher. Is New Jersey currently is everything gone through in Jersey for
marijuana?
Yeah.
It passed in November, so it is kind of legal, but there's all kinds of issues here because nobody wants it sold in their town. And the police have been told that it's only legal if you're over 21, but if you're under 21, the police have been told that they can't tell parents that they've caught their kid with pot, maybe until the second time the kid is caught. So it's a mess here. But I'm also on a college campus, so conversations are going on about, do we allow it here? Well, we're already a smoke-free campus, so you shouldn't, even though cigarettes are legal, we don't want you smoking on campus, so we don't want you smoking marijuana on campus either. Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare to get it straightened out. But that being said, our workforce development department is teaching how to work in a cannabis industry class, which is full every time they offer it.
It's been legal in Canada for several years without any dire consequences.
Which, if you're wondering, is how Ian stays so mellow.
I think perhaps the only dire consequence of the legality in Canada is an unexpected surge in purple UFOs caused by specifically around the Leamington, Ontario area, I know.
There is that.
So I don't know how is everybody doing turned into pot updates across the world, but I think
Illegal in Germany.
This is a
Let me get my
representation.
whiteboard, Michael.
Yes, this is a representation of I think where we're all at mentally right now is just let's toke with Mike Murray and Steve Crawford somewhere in Kalamazoo this year. It'll be a good time. So any other non-pot related news or pot, I don't care, honestly.
Mentioning Canada, I just wanted to say congratulations to Ian for having a street named after him. It was very well deserved.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I guess that now means that when school children come to visit the planetarium, they can literally throw Ian McLennan under the bus. So, I've got so many of these guys. It's been a long time. I'm sorry.
I'm thinking of making it a toll road.
Ooh.
The next fundraiser.
Any other fun updates across the world?
I'll go.
There we go. Hey, Kat.
I am happy to report that we are open. Sometimes I have a little bit of survivor's remorse, but it gives me a lot of hope because it was very, very slow last year. We opened on October 8th. We were open through the end of December. We closed in January in preparation for the potential holiday spike, and then we reopened in February. And when February came around, every show has people in it. I mean, it's certainly not a plethora yet, but every show has people in it, and people are very excited to come into the dome. I know there was a lot of worry last year from some that virtual programs might overshadow planetarium programs, and we're not seeing that to be the case. People want to come, particularly our live sky. We had to move our live sky to a different hour to keep with the COVID precautions we were doing, and that hour has jumped in attendance. And for my laser fans out there, our laser shows are so popular. So if you're not doing lasers, and you can do them, but it's just been very hopeful. You know, we're on a shoestring staff. I constantly check in with my team. I'm like, I'm not overthrowing you with hours. So I check in with them regularly, but it's been really good to be open.
Awesome. Great to hear. Let's go for the first, but not the last time today, to the West Coast. Mary Holt.
Yeah, oh, sorry, the baby just started crying. That's my niece. But I wanted to share that I'm not feeling very well today, but for a good reason. I got my second COVID vaccine yesterday. And I have to say I'm pretty grateful, actually, because I feel like I'm in the perfect spot of, like, I don't feel good, but I'm not, like, feeling really bad. So, like, I know it's working, but also I'm not, like, dying. So, all good.
It's always a good day when you're not dying. Rick, go ahead. Rick will now unmute.
Try that again. So this week marked the return of school groups to the Faulkner Planetarium. I actually had 5 programs this week, but about 130 students through. 2 of the schools saw 2 programs. Our public attendance numbers have been picking up as well. We're capped at 50 per show, but the numbers are starting to go up. School groups are calling in. We got spring break right now this next week, but I'm even putting on a little full dome film festival. 21 shows over 5 days. We'll see what we get as far as public attendance. Spring break's usually a good week for us. So things are kind of looking up here as far as attendance.
Mr. Mike Smale.
So here in Chicago at Adler, we are still closed to the public and will remain that way for a little while. But we just received approval to start a project that we were supposed to start around this time last year before everything shut down. And that is we are going to be replacing our roof. The Adler turned 90 last year, and the original roof over top of our large Sky Theater dome was replaced once in 1940, but not since then. So it's been running for 80 years, and we've had some leak issues and things like that associated with it over the last while. But we are going to be taking it down, replacing it, also replacing the flat roofs of the building as well after that's done. But for those of you that are in the area, if you need to get any last pictures before the new dome goes up, our original dome the original dome exterior is made out of lead-lined copper, which turns out you can't get anymore, probably because of the lead. So the dome that will be going up in its place will be pure or almost entirely copper, and it'll have a nice shine for a couple months. I think they're estimating between like 6 and 18 months is when it'll start to patina and age. But yeah, we're going to get a new dome that doesn't leak, and that's pretty great.
Oh, don't lick the old dome. Very good advice, Anna. Diana, go ahead.
There we go. Haha. Figuring out how to use Zoom on my phone, which actually I haven't done yet. So I am in an incredibly lucky position. I am actually on vacation right now. Hallelujah. I was able to take a week off of work, but I wanted to tune into the conference to see how everyone was doing. We've had a pretty great year considering. I'm incredibly lucky on that front. We've been open most of the time. Not too many guests in the planetarium, but the rest of the museum's been open and we've been working hard. Great group of people I'm working with, but I'm also experiencing a lot of burnout, which I'm sure is also going on out there. We've just been going at it so hard, trying to find every revenue stream we can. So it's been tough in the burnout department, but things are in general looking pretty good over here.
Awesome to hear. It sort of, yeah, that's worth, maybe talking about for a little bit, the burnout. And then some of us in the room, not me particularly, but like we've got a couple of working moms who had babies during COVID. I'm looking particularly at Renee and Tiffany. How have you guys been doing? Sort of a very unique situation to be in.
I mean, I had a baby and she's almost a year old. So that's pretty good. All things considered, babies are still born. And we would have spent a lot of time at home anyway with an infant. So we just were forced to this time.
Yeah, I got pregnant right at the beginning of the pandemic. So definitely a COVID baby. I don't know. I haven't had time to think about how I feel about it, to be honest. I have a healthy, happy little boy, so I don't have anything too terribly negative to say about it. Just busy.
Awesome. Any other stories? And oh, hello, on a puppy again. Anyone else in particular? I mean, there's people to call out. Like, there's some major things that have happened over the last year. Like, Shiloh's head went down, and I think she knows exactly where. So, if you don't know, Shiloh Fontes is now the new editor-in-chief of the Planetarium, the IPS journal, and the first issue did just come out recently. And Shiloh, such a good job, great job on that first one. Let's see. What else?
No one's killed me yet for it, so that's good. I haven't really received too much grumpy emails about it, so also helpful. But on that, hi, and if you're interested in writing but don't want to have commitment to a 4-column or 4-issue column, we are now opening up spaces for a rotating column. So if you have little things that maybe you want to write about, instead of saying, I'm going to write 4 of these a year, let me know. My biggest thing, to talk with Michael about this, I really want to expand that community. And I think it's something where we've kind of seen very similar things constantly. And I really want to see it expand and have it be more helpful and connecting for everyone. Yes, it is ridiculously intimidating. Tiffany, that was a thing. So but yeah, so if you are interested, like I said, let me know. Otherwise, between that and hopefully, like I said, reopening my planetarium maybe in the next month, fingers crossed, we'll see, because it's definitely, we've been closed for a year, and that is beyond stressful. So
I think I have an announcement to say, and I was expecting for somebody else to do that, but I guess I'm the one who has to do it. I won the week with the German-speaking planetariums 2021. And I think it's going to be amazing.
Congratulations.
Fantastic.
I have to better my German.
Hopefully both you and Sarah will actually get to come this year, because Sarah missed her year last year. She was supposed to come to Berlin, but our vaccination rate is embarrassing at this point. We haven't been getting our vaccines in, so hopefully at the end of the year you guys will be able to come.
Yeah, maybe.
You have German name. You're going to your roots, right?
Yes, I am. My second last name, Dittel, is German.
I'm sorry I didn't announce that. Actually, I was thinking of more personal things, and that went right over my head. I'm glad you blew your own horn. That's wonderful. And please, people, yes, I have been writing the Mobile News Network column for years and years and years and years and years. And I've been trying for the last several years to get someone to do one of the 4 yearly columns, because it would be wonderful to hear some new voices in the planetarium. So yeah, I'm up for that. You want to take over 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of my column? That's wonderful. I'm very open to that. On the positive side, my daughter's coming to visit now that I'm getting my first shot on Saturday, and she's all vaccinated, and she lives in California, and she's going to fly out in June and spend 3 weeks with me. Yay! And I'm preparing my home to be sold because I'm moving down to Pittsburgh, where my son is with his family, and I can actually be near family. Big changes coming.
Those are the stories we want to hear. That's fantastic, Susan. Anyone else?
Can I pitch in briefly?
Oh, absolutely.
So we've been lucky enough to be open for the last wee while. The government's done really well, but we've had almost no, nobody from overseas here. The borders have been shut pretty tightly here in New Zealand. But we've been lucky enough to do a bunch of really cool things. We were lucky enough to get Mesmerica in our dome from late last year, and that's been doing amazingly well. There's been a really, really good uptake with the local community. So there's hope for those of you that aren't open yet. Everything has been going really well. We've been filling our dome a lot more than we did previously. So we've actually been smashing our 2019 visitorship numbers. It's starting to slow down now, but it's been really, really good. Other than that, the other thing that we've done is we've started launching Dome Lab, which is an initiative that I kind of stole off one of the American planetariums, which has been great. So we've got local technical people, creative people coming for a meetup in the dome to talk about projects that they might do in that format or in VR or other non-traditional media. And there's been about 4 projects that have started to kick off from that. So that's just a free thing we're hosting, but we're hoping it'll get us some new content and maybe some innovative stuff in the next wee while. So we'll be really pleased about that.
Fantastic. Mark Percy, go ahead.
All right. I was listening to all your stories and thinking, I've just been struggling like everybody else, but a couple of interesting notes. So just about this February, when I was getting ready to get our quotes for the GLIPA conference in 2022 redone by the hotel, it came out that the hotel we were planning on using went under in bankruptcy. So that's the bad news. We're scrambling, trying to figure out what we can do. We're still host the 2022 GLIPA here in Buffalo, but yeah, it's like somebody knocked over your book bag and you got to clean all your papers up. Good news. What I've been doing, I can have the high school students from the building that I'm attached to come. So I have been doing some in-person instruction, but a lot of it has been me zooming into other people's classrooms or to kids that are remote at home. And, you know, I'm just trying to stay in touch with my usual customers. But the other day, completely out of the blue, the superintendent pops in my door and says, "Hey, I was over at one of the elementary schools and I saw you talking to these kindergarten teachers. I couldn't believe, or kindergarten students. I couldn't believe it. That was really cool." I was like, "Oh, excellent. The superintendent noticed." So that was very good news. And I hope that leads to the continuation of the good news that there's no talk of the horrible budget cuts, including our planetarium program. So knock on wood for me, so far so good.
All right, so we're about to get into the segments and paper sessions, but wanted to give a last call for anybody else. But since I'm the guy who gets to hype people, I will throw out this one. If you're interested in really good astrophotography done from inside city limits, do check out Nick Lake's Chicago astrophotography pictures, which for the fact that it's outside of Chicago is pretty damn amazing. So good job on that one, Nick.
Hey, thanks.
Absolutely. And so our first paper session today is the tie back to the callback to the first one. So when the first e-conference was getting planned, I could think of only one person that I wanted to start off with the presentations, and that was Dana Thompson. And so when we put this one together, I went immediately to Dana and said, it wasn't a demand.
You're telling it all
wasn't
wrong,
a
Michael,
question.
but that's okay.
Dana, go on ahead and lead us off for the 1 year anniversary. So without further ado, with an update about Astronomy Slam and creative constraints, taking it personally, ladies and gentlemen, Dana Thompson.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, just to re-clarify things, when this was going on about a year ago, I was like, hey, if you still have room, Michael, I could present. And he's like, yeah, great, just send me a title. And I asked him, I was like, okay, cool. How many other people are presenting? And he said, so far, just you. And I was like, all right, that's cool. I will do it. And I said, you know, about a month ago, we really need to do this again and give an update. And I was all prepared until I heard all of you talk. And now I'm quite nervous. So we'll see how this goes. I'll try to get it done in 13 minutes, but it might be a little tight. So in addition to being director of the Brown Planetarium at Ball State University, I am also the North American board representative, one of two for the International Planetarium Society. And if you aren't familiar with the International Planetarium Society, just know that it's a wonderful resource that's here for our community and for planetariums worldwide. And the IPS also has an amazing equity, diversity, and inclusion committee, which I co-chair with the fabulous Danny LeBlanc from MOS Boston. So reach out to myself or Michelle here, or even Danny if you're interested in the EDI committee here for the IPS. All right, so as Michael mentioned, I am going to be talking about two different things. I'm cramming two talks into one session here. One on the Astronomy Slam, which I presented on last year, but then I also presented a little bit on creative constraints last year too. But this year we're going to take it a little personally, or a little personal. All right. So last year we had planned for April an Astronomy Slam. It was going to be the first time we did this, and we had various goals and objectives for this event. We wanted to give students a space to share their passion for astronomy in a non-threatening atmosphere.
Okay, well, I just
And then
used
we
the phone
also
number
wanted
that
to
said to
provide
call
an
if we were having.
for a family, or excuse me, a friendly competition and discussion between students. We also wanted to award and recognize dedicated students. But of course it was canceled due to COVID. And in light of COVID, we did something I never thought we would do. We went live on Facebook with this event in November. We already had a trophy ordered for 2020 that said Astronomy Slam champion for the year 2020. So we had to do it last year, and we went online to host it virtually. It was a Facebook program, but I recorded it and put it on our YouTube page after, which you can watch if you're interested. To put this live on Facebook, I used OBS and Zoom. So we all met together on Zoom, and then I broadcasted it through OBS to Facebook Live. And that allowed me to do some masks. So to really highlight some of the speakers here individually, rather than having all the participants on Zoom highlighted at a time. OBS is really easy to use once you get it set up, but it does have that learning curve to get it set up in the first place. All right, so each student would share their screen. Again, I could mask the other videos coming through to highlight the speaker. And we had 4 student presenters talk about various topics like eclipsing binary stars here. But then also Belle talked about women in astronomy. Melanie, who you might have seen present at the last GLIPA conference, presented on the sound of science instead of silence, the sound of science, sound in space. And then Ricky presented on the end of all things, kind of trying to understand how our universe might one day end. Everyone was a winner, but there was only one astronomy champion, or Astronomy Slam champion, who got the trophy. But we wanted everyone to be recognized. And so people got certificates for, there was one certificate for most visually engaging presentation, one for most thought-provoking, and then also best energy, in addition to that Astronomy Slam Champion Award. But as I said, we couldn't have done this without the pandemic, or we really wouldn't have done this without the pandemic, which last year at this time I mentioned was a creative constraint. Which brings me to the second part of my talk here. There's this TED Ed video that summarizes what creative constraints are, and I mentioned it last year, but I didn't play it. I'm going to this year, even though it's a little long. It's about 5 minutes, because I think it's important for understanding the next part of my talk. And it's timely too, because it talks about the Mars rovers and the work done at NASA.
Imagine you're asked to invent something new. It could be whatever you want, made from anything you choose, in any shape or size. That kind of creative freedom sounds so liberating, doesn't it? Or does it? If you're like most people, you'd probably be paralyzed by this task. Without more guidance, where would you even begin? As it turns out, boundless freedom isn't always helpful. In reality, any project is restricted by many factors, such as the cost, what materials you have at your disposal, and unbreakable laws of physics. These factors are called creative constraints, and they're the requirements and limitations we have to address in order to accomplish a goal. Creative constraints apply across professions to architects and artists, writers, engineers, and scientists. In many fields, constraints play a special role as drivers of discovery and invention. During the scientific process in particular, constraints are an essential part of experimental design. For instance, a scientist studying a new virus would consider, how can I use the tools and techniques at hand to create an experiment that tells me how this virus infects the body's cells? And what are the limits of my knowledge that prevent me from understanding this new viral pathway? In engineering, constraints have us apply our scientific discoveries to invent something new and useful. Take, for example, the landers Viking 1 and 2, which relied on thrusters to arrive safely on the surface of Mars. The problem? Those thrusters left foreign chemicals on the ground, contaminating soil samples. So a new constraint was introduced. How can we land a probe on Mars without introducing chemicals from Earth? The next Pathfinder mission used an airbag system to allow the rover to bounce and roll to a halt without burning contaminating fuel. Years later, we wanted to send a much larger rover, Curiosity. However, it was too large for the airbag design, so another constraint was defined. How can we land a large rover while still keeping rocket fuel away from the Martian soil? In response, engineers had a wild idea. They'd design a sky crane. Similar to the claw machine at toy stores, it would lower the rover from high above the surface. With each invention, the engineers demonstrated an essential habit of scientific thinking, that solutions must recognize the limitations of current technology in order to advance it. Sometimes this progress is iterative, as in, how can I make a better parachute to land my rover? And sometimes it's innovative, like how to reach our goal when the best possible parachute isn't going to work. In both cases, the constraints guide decision-making to ensure we reach each objective. Here's another Mars problem yet to be solved. Say we want to send astronauts who will need water. They'd rely on a filtration system that keeps the water very clean and enables 100% recovery. Those are some pretty tough constraints, and we may not have the technology for it now. But in the process of trying to meet these objectives, we might discover other applications of any inventions that result. Building an innovative water filtration system could provide a solution for farmers working in drought-stricken regions, or a way to clean municipal water in polluted cities. In fact, many scientific advances have occurred when serendipitous failures in one field address the constraints of another. When scientist Alexander Fleming mistakenly contaminated a petri dish in the lab, it led to the discovery of the first antibiotic, penicillin. The same is true of synthetic dye, plastic, and gunpowder. All were created mistakenly, but went on to address the constraints of other problems. Understanding constraints guides scientific progress, and what's true in science is also true in many other fields. Constraints aren't the boundaries of creativity, but the foundation of it.
All right, so last year I said that through collaboration, which the planetarium community is amazing at, and with the creative constraints put on us during the pandemic, we would come out strong. But I'm not really sure if I believed myself at that time. Looking at that video, I kind of was hesitating on that last part there. But I do think that we have seen some strength in the projects that we've done over the past year, and projects that were discussed earlier during this e-conference already, and that are going to be discussed after I finish my presentation here. But I'd like to take it personally just for a moment and talk about the creative constraints placed on each of us over the past year, the people that make these projects possible. So basically, what have been our own creative constraints? And to understand this, we could look at escapism and escapism behaviors. And what is escapism? Well, it's described here as a way of attempting to make negative feelings dissipate without working through the necessary steps in order to come to relief through mental resolution. It's a false economy, a quick fix, a crutch, a placebo. And these are things like sports, work, drugs, and so on, things that we haven't had access to during the pandemic. And these things can lead to really healthy qualities like being physically healthy, being creative, and being independent. But they can also lead to not so healthy qualities like addiction and unhealthy relationships, procrastination, and so on. But there is some good that can come out of this. Escapism can help us better understand our own world by leaving it for a little bit. But these behaviors can also distance us from our problems. And when we're distanced from our own problems, we are distanced from the problems of the people around us. It can definitely lead to happiness. Escapism can. But again, with the pandemic, many of these behaviors have been forced out of our lives. And without them, we're forced to grow and maybe move to a more meaningful life, a more fulfilling life. So unfortunately, there's no equation for life. Everyone's path and journeys are unique, and people need to find what works for them. But maybe this past year has revealed that for people on some level, helping us move forward and to grow with our own personal creative constraints. That's all I have. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Dana. for getting us to think, a bit bigger than ourselves, which is a really good thing in this day and age. So in the minute, 90 seconds or so we have, any questions for Dana? And then I want to thank you for putting the link there into the chat for that. And so great video and getting us to think in that way. So moving to our next segment, let's go to Mars with Ken Brandt.
Where else am I going to take you, right? Okay, so let me pull up my presentation here about Perseverance. Maybe you've heard of it. Percy, as hopefully you have seen the landing of Perseverance and you've seen the really, really good videos. So I'm going to focus more on what we can use out there in the planetarium field to help tell this story. And I'm going to rely a lot on a fellow named Jeff Nee at the Jet Propulsion Lab, who's put together a wonderful pack of resources. So I'm going to kind of scroll through the slides kind of quickly, just do the quick overview. This is, I'm sure I'm talking to the choir here, as they say. So there's your rover family. This is a really cool graphic. A friend, another solar system ambassador in the Raleigh-Durham area in North Carolina, Tony Rice, photoshopped a full-scale model of Curiosity into a parking lot in front of the Natural Sciences Museum in Raleigh. But you get an idea for how big this robot is when you look at it next to an SUV right behind it. It's pretty cool. It puts it into scale perspective. And of course, I'll be more than happy to send you this picture if you want to use it in your shows or whatever. Okay, so a little orbital, global context here. Jezero craters up there in the Acidus Basin, or an offshoot of the Acidus Basin up there in the upper right-hand corner. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. Maybe? No cursor. Okay, so it's Jezero crater is labeled there on the right-hand side. All right, so, oops, okay, there it is. It's a little tiny crater, comparatively speaking. It's only about 28 miles wide. And that's what it looks like from a geological map perspective. Of course, the delta in the center of your image here is one big reason why they landed Perseverance in this part of Mars, because this demonstrates long-standing liquid water and a river flowing into it. You can see the river valley in the upper left there, snaking its way into the crater. And this delta is hundreds of feet tall in places, so it took a long time to form. And when I talk long time, we're talking millions of years here. So a great place to go and look for fossils, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're looking for fossils on Mars. That's the landing site. This is what it looked like to the terrain relative navigation computer aboard the rover. Red and yellow is bad for a fellow, and blue is good. And so to give you an idea of scale, if you think about the parking lot in front of your facility or in front of, say, a school building, they basically parked Perseverance on a parking lot on Mars, on that narrow blue strip between all that red stuff out there in the lake bed. So lots of rocks and things in the way. This always amazes me, because you think about the orbital mechanics that are necessary and the photographing ability. You got a moving spacecraft, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, looking down on Mars. Oh yeah, there's a parachute down there. Let's snap a picture of that. Boom, right? And so you got the parachute flying probably about 200 miles an hour at this stage, flying down to Mars, and they hit it exactly where they got this thing, in basically the center of the frame. So it's amazing imagery of the nice folks at Jet Propulsion Lab. So this is another really cool image that they did. This is where all the pieces ended up. And if you minimize the speaker window, the heat shield is off in the extreme right-hand part of this image. Perseverance, of course, is front row center. And then on the left, you got the descent stage, the jets, and then the parachute. So all of this stuff ends up in the crater on Mars. Okay. This is an image taken by the descent downlook camera, looking down on the rover as it was getting ready to land on Mars. And you can see the sand and the silt being blown away by the exhaust of the rockets. There's the four main objectives of the mission. The two that are most interesting to me, of course, are the astrobiology and sampling components. And we'll go into some depth in the sampling here in a minute. But the astrobiology, looking for actual fossils on Mars. They're looking for pieces of life and looking for that direct evidence of habitable environments, just like Curiosity is found in all over Gale Crater. As you can see, they packed this thing full of instruments. Notice the international contribution, some of these instruments, France, Spain, and Norway, to be specific. Norway is responsible for the ground penetrating radar, and France has got elements of the SuperCam laser and camera system. And then the weather station is courtesy of the Spanish. If you like cameras and photography, Perseverance is your machine. This thing has got cameras all over it. And you've already seen, hopefully, some of the really, really good images that they're brought back. It also has a microphone, and you have to listen carefully to hear this. What you're hearing is the wind on Mars. And in a second, you'll actually hear the rover driving on Mars. This is the first time that NASA's been able to pull down audio from Mars. So the unique instruments we're going to go through really fast. The SuperCam is kind of like the ChemCam instrument on Curiosity, but really, really beefed up and with some more capabilities. And you can read them here, all that. You know, they're calibrating. They've got some basic spectra so far for a couple of rocks. And these are all the different components of the SuperCam, the different ways that it can sense the Martian environment. It's got a Raman spectrometer, a visible and infrared spectrometer as part of its capabilities, along with the X-ray spectrometer from the LIBS, and of course, just basic imaging. So SuperCam can shoot lasers up to 21 feet away and get meaningful data back from the rocks that it blasts. And you can also hear the laser hitting a rock. And that's another sound clip, which I didn't put in here. The Sherlock instrument is a UV fluorescence spectrometer. Organic material fluoresces very nicely under long-wave fluorescent light, 365 nanometers, I think it is. And the Sherlock will be examining rocks and samples like the grinds from the drill. It'll be looking at those and using ultraviolet spectroscopy. Watson and Pixel and Sherlock are all on the robotic arm out here on the left, right, whoops, sorry, on the right-hand side of your image. This is the first Watson image from the Watson spectrometer, and the colors are slightly exaggerated in this picture, but so it was taken on while it was stapled to the arm, basically, and the arm was tucked up underneath the rover. And the cover is closed, so the cover hasn't been released yet in this picture. Pixel is going to look at X-ray spectroscopy, and it's going to be looking for biosignatures and looking for good samples to take from the sample return part of this. RIMFAX is a ground-penetrating radar that can look down. This goes down about 50 feet into the subsurface of Mars. So if there's a glacier under there or an underground aquifer, we might be able to see it with the RIMFAX. So far, the only results they've gotten so far with the few shots they've taken is the observance that the rock is fractured down to about 12 meters down. So I think 10 meters, excuse me. So fractured rock underneath the rover where it landed. And of course, as the rover is driving, they're also going to fire this radar down into, so they're going to get a moving, what's the word, catalog of images here. So sampling. So you've got a coring drill that's going to core out samples of rock and then stow them in these tubes that are about the size of a pencil. And the tubes You can see there's the actual sampling cache. They dropped a cover onto Mars a couple of days ago, and then used the, I believe this is the Watson camera, to take this picture of the sample tubes ready to go. So these are the actual sample tubes as loaded on the real rover on Mars. Okay, so there's a geological context map showing the different landforms that the rover is going to be traversing. This was the science plan for collecting samples in the initial phase or the primary mission, and then any extended mission off here to the left, going up and out of the crater in the blue, the delta there, going past the delta to the crater rim and then on beyond to the plains out beyond the crater. But you can see this is a notional idea for where they want to take the different samples. So there, all these blue dots in the picture are your sampling locations. And all these slides, by the way, are from the Lunar Planetary Science Conference that's been going on this week. I've been attending that and gathering updates as they've been presented, mostly on Tuesday. This is one of the first color images from Mars. And you can see out here in the distance, right off the wheel here, all these vesicular rocks, holy rocks, if you will. They're officially called holy rocks because vesicular implies an igneous origin. And scientists went out of their way to describe how they don't want to give you that impression yet because they don't know. Looking out across the plains, of course, the really ingenious pattern on the JPL parachute here, the JPL motto, "Dare Mighty Things," is in there in binary and code in the layers or the different zones in the parachute. This is the uplook camera from the rover looking up at the sky crane, lowering it down onto Mars. You don't see any jet exhaust here because hydrazine burns clear, so it doesn't show any color to it. Okay, as opposed to the yellow of a traditional rocket. This is the Delta cliff face here off in the distance. This is the crater rim further off in the distance. And you can see all these rocks out here in the distance here. Landing atop any one of those big boulders would have been game over for the rover. That was all that red and yellow stuff you saw back in that terrain relative navigation slide. Over 10,000 raw images and counting. And you can sort the images by spacecraft, or not spacecraft, instrument and camera. And so you can get a very detailed set of images if you want to tell a particular story. Like if you want to tell the story of the Watson camera, you can get the Watson images that have been taken so far and download those. Wheel tracks on Mars, of course, so far they've driven about 100 meters and counting. They're driving today, I believe. So they're looking for, and I think they found the spot to land the helicopter on Mars. And they're probably taking the counterclockwise route. Okay, I have to double check on that. But there are two routes they can take, the blue or the purple, to get to the delta, which is where they want to go. And in order to get there, they want to pass through as many different terrains and different landform areas as they can. And so these were the two major drive positions or paths up for discussion. My virtual audiences, especially school-age kids, this is where we always stop for questions. They got to know, how the heck are you going to fly a helicopter on Mars? Because if they know anything about Mars, they know the air is thin and all that. So this is a point of discussion for them. And next Tuesday, JPL is doing a briefing, I believe it's at 2:30 Eastern time, to talk about where they're actually going to deploy the helicopter. Apparently they found the flight zone for the helicopter, and they're going to deploy it sometime next week and actually start testing this thing in the next couple of weeks. So this is really exciting. This will be the first time another aircraft has flown anywhere on any other planet. So this will be very cool to watch this happen. Okay. Now, I wanted to share a different screen for you really fast. And the different screen is the text of an email that Jeff sent to me this morning. I don't know, can you see a text document up here? There, does that help? If you can take a screenshot, this is a good time to do it. I would just say take a screenshot and then go to these links at your convenience. There are all kinds of planetarium resources that JPL has put together. And of course, if you're not yet a member of the Museum Alliance, you have to log in and actually grab these resources off their page. When you go to the links, they'll ask you to log in because they're all the informal.jpl.nasa.gov STEM. So if you are not yet a member of the Museum Alliance, all you have to do is shoot Jeff an email and go to the link down here at the bottom, the informal about link, and join up, because it's a lot of free information and resources, and you get in connection with about 600 other institutions across the US and the globe. So this is not a US only thing. You can actually join this if you are in Colombia, say. All right, does anybody have any questions about all this?
I know we've got a few questions there in the chat, and Ken, if you would be so kind, if you could just copy and paste those links into the chat, we'll be able to distribute that later as well.
All right, I'll do that. Kat is 100% correct. It's a very popular topic with kids right now, as you might guess. Now, it's current events, it's new science. The Planetarium Show that JPL did, the Return from Mars program, which is, I think, the first link down here. Yeah, Perseverance, the Perseverance Show, right there, that link. That is the Planetarium Show, and it features the people that actually that are running the mission. And it's a very, very good example. There's a lot of diverse individuals in this video. And it's just a really good video for kids to see. They like it a lot.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ken. Our next segment, we're gonna send it to my ancestral homeland of Long Island. It's Tom Barry from the Cradle of Aviation Museum with an update on virtual music and astronomy at the museum itself. So Tom, take it away.
Thank you very much, Michael. Hi, everyone. It's so good to see so many faces that I know, some faces that I don't know, because I'm in and out. This past year has been very interesting, and I just have jumped into things and pulled away from things, and there's all kinds of emotion going on right now. But seeing everybody's faces, some folks that I know from Lips, it's just so wonderful, and it's a good feeling right in there. Music and Astronomy Night is something that Carrie Kiker started 5 years ago. I know many of you do know Carrie. She runs the planetarium here at the Cradle of Aviation. She is the person who knows everything about our system. She does not have Facebook. And so I am the one that saw the invite. So here I am. But she is actually here. So if everyone will say hey to Carrie. This is her thing and what she does. And for the past 5 years, we have been working with Adelphi University on Long Island. I said it like that for you, Michael. She's been working with Adelphi here on Long Island to pair music students with physics students, with the museum, and all of us kind of coming together to create something that is hopefully greater than the sum of its parts. This year has been different because obviously we were restricted and we couldn't bring people into the theater for stuff like this, especially if people are going to be singing. But essentially, we create videos. In years past, students from Adelphi created the videos. They learned the planetarium system, the Digistar system, and they created the videos. And then the music students created music to pair along with them. This year, like everybody else, we had to do things virtually, which made it very interesting. Obviously, it's not the same as being in the dome, but it was kind of interesting using the software in this new way. And so Carrie and I created some videos, and some of the students created music. Some did cover versions, others composed their own songs. One for it's the story of Vulcan, Mars, and Venus. This woman created this song that was just so fantastic and amazing, and I'd love to share it with you, but the recording didn't work on the Zoom meeting, so we'll have to get her back in to record it again. But I did want to share one song. It involves the Summer Triangle and some of the mythology associated with that from Greece and China. Jay Choi is the composer, and he created this music, and I'm just in awe just in awe of what this guy created and what all these students could do. And just, I love this whole idea. And so, Carrie, I'm giving you a round of applause. I don't know if you're there or not, but she did an amazing job. So I'm just going to share one of those songs that Jay Choi, the student, did. Turn up the brightness on your screen. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. So they're amazing. We love them, and that's what we've been doing. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Tom. Fantastic. Really loved it. And so to Tom and Carrie, thanks. And of course, so everyone knows this is Tom's first time as a e-conference presenter. So all the better to be able to show off something this so very cool. And so now we're off into the recurring segments part, everybody's favorite second half of all of this. And so we're going to kick off today with Totally Bored with Justin Bartle from Richmond. Justin, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you, Michael. I'll run through this pretty quickly, then I have to log off too. I'll also be live on Facebook in about 20 minutes. So I guess we have two options. I can do Totally Bored, or do you want to see a dress rehearsal? Okay, we'll do Totally Bored. Let's see, let me just get both. I don't know. The Facebook show is going to be about 30 minutes. I don't think we have time for that. All right, we'll do that whole screen. All right, then I'll bring the chat back. Okay, so yeah, Totally Bored. Got started most of a year ago, you know, just trying to pass the time with things that were around the house. And well, then things escalated just a little bit. So let me catch you up on what we have been up to. Some of the previous games I've mentioned are in the background there, and no, it didn't make the cut. But Gray, if you saw my most frequent competitor in the last e-conference, she actually got in on the fun. She added 7 Wonders Duel to our collection at Christmas, and then I got back on Kickstarter earlier this year. So let's take a look at a few things that we've been looking at. First, I guess this wasn't a Kickstarter find, but I saw the board for High Frontier for All on Twitter. And I thought, hey, it's a cool looking board. I wonder what the game's like. So grabbed a copy of the game. This is the 4th edition. So it's a High Frontier for All. And if you like board games, this is a board game. The board is pretty amazing, but it's covered up with all of the other stuff that's in the box. It comes with about a ream of paper, the various instructions. There are actually 3 different ways to play the game. So 3 rule books, and then a whole book to tell you how to read the other rule books. You get a whole bunch of pieces, a bunch of cards, little rocket ships. They're so cute. But it's a lot of pieces, kind of ambitious. So luckily, one of the game modes is a very simplified version that lets you put most of that stuff back in the box. You just need this stuff here, 1 small rule book, some little rockets, some little tokens, and a deck of cards. If you get a little bit better look at the game board here, you get a little map of the solar system. The ultimate goal of the main game is to set up industries all over the solar system and extract the resources you need to live all over the solar system. But in the introductory game, Space Diamonds, you have either a simple rocket or a solar sail. We opted for the solar sails for our very first attempt, and you're just cruising through the inner solar system, trying to collect resources. You get little mission cards that give you some kind of goal, but you don't really have to pursue that mission. You can just sprint out to pick up some resources, head back to Earth, and count up your winnings. It was actually the end of our first playthrough here. You can see a few of the letters there. They're representing different spectral types. They're sneaking a little bit of real science in there. So you're grabbing resources from, S and C and M type asteroids. You go down to some planets and moons as well if you really want to. All the little lines connecting the objects that you can explore are used to travel throughout the whole solar system, but they're sneaking in a little more real science, twisting it a little bit to make it better for a board game. You've got Hohmann transfers and Lagrange points that are important for moving throughout the solar system. So all in all, High Frontier, at least the Space Diamonds version, we like that. That was a big hit. We try this a couple more times so that we can step it up to the more complicated versions. But looking forward to a lot more from High Frontier. And oh yeah, there are a few expansions. Our playthrough of Space Diamonds brought to you by Stone Brewing and their Viking Space Probe Hazy IPA. But I've got the first two expansion modules ready to go. And I don't know, again, it's escalated. So the third expansion module is already on pre-order. Should be here any day now. While we wait for that, the other day, a couple weeks ago, I was at a large chain bookstore here in the US. So that means I was at Barnes and Noble. And oh wait, that was the other beer. It's Friday. It's maybe after 5 o'clock for some of you. Ransack the Universe. That's a good one for High Frontier as well. But on to the next game. Yeah. So Barnes and Noble, they've got a board game section, and I happened upon it. Among the usual suspects, this one caught my eye. It's called Space Explorers. It was really just the artwork that grabbed me. Did a quick search, read a couple of reviews, and it seemed like, hey, other people like it. I haven't actually played it yet, but just wanted to share in case you needed something for Yuri's Night coming up at the 60th anniversary of Humans in Space. The idea of Space Explorers is sort of the same. You're trying to gather experts and resources that you need to complete the types of missions that were part of the early space missions, both crewed and uncrewed, all of these primarily in the 1960s. So looks like a lot of fun. Maybe we'll have another one of these. I'll report back once we actually play it. Now, to reflect back on some things that have come up in previous e-conferences, I think after maybe the first or second Totally Bored segment, somebody said in the chat, hey, how about Terraforming Mars? Have you heard about that game? I had not. But I'm happy to report that they recently had a Kickstarter for a new Terraforming Mars card game, Ares Expedition. And I'm happy to report that that is on the way to my mailbox as well. So obviously I haven't even seen it yet, haven't played it yet. Watched some playthrough videos. Looks like it'll be pretty fun. But I don't remember who first suggested Terraforming Mars to me. If you're here, I'll also have the rest of it when these rewards are delivered. So thanks for inspiring that in me. And while I was on Kickstarter last month, I also found, oh wait, I've already in my Facebook show and I've forgotten this one. I've also got Terraforming Mars on Steam. Again, it's escalated just a little bit, but it was part of a humble bundle. So I've got that. I've won any virtual Totally Bored sessions playing Terraforming Mars. Let me know. Then finally, I was still on Kickstarter, watching the things get unlocked for Ares Expedition, and then stumbled across Dawn on Titan. So that's on the way too. For those with kids, you will notice here this one is hopefully appropriate for some slightly younger ages. I cannot recommend High Frontier for 10-year-olds. But Dawn on Titan, theoretically, again, not produced, haven't played it yet. But this one theoretically good for some younger ages. Looks like a nice family level game where you are exploring the Saturn system. It's actually the same publisher as High Frontier. And it ends up being kind of the same idea. You're going around the moons of Saturn, gathering resources, building industries, but a much smaller rule book, I would expect. And a little bit of real science slipped into this game as well. I've got things like the inner moons going around Saturn in one direction, the prograde direction, and the outer moons orbiting retrograde. So that's reflecting the actual universe. And then for aviation fans, your rocket ships have to do Immelman turns to switch directions. So you get a little bit of real physics in there as well. So there we go. High Frontier, fun so far. Looking forward to Space Explorers, Terraforming Mars, and Dawn on Titan coming up soon. Hope to report on those games maybe in a future e-conference. All right, and so I don't upset my my marketing chaperone in our Facebook Live show, I should probably sign off. But yeah, it was good seeing everyone.
Thank you, Justin, as always. And so yeah, maybe we may just have a board game only version of the e-conferences. So we'll see how that goes. So now, it's that time of the e-conference. It's really, I see the excitement beginning to build in the room. It is time for long German words of the pandemic with Anna Green.
Hello. Welcome back to another exciting edition. So this time, before I decided on what words to pick, Michael had already called it the long German words of the pandemic. So I decided to roll with that. And in doing some research on pandemic-related long German words, I found that apparently the pandemic over the last year has led to 1,200 new German words being created. So there's a whole dictionary now just for pandemic-related words. Now, a lot of these are stolen from the English. So you see people using the terms that you see in the United States, social distancing and so on and so forth. But, also German likes slamming words together to make new words. So you're going to see some of those today. And without further ado, Michael, can you please
get this going? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So just real quick for those of you who this might be your first time at an econ.
Oh yeah, sorry.
What the hell are you gotten yourself into?
Yes.
Anna chooses the words and provides a correct and an incorrect answer. We bring that out in the Zoom poll, and then you choose which one is correct. Unfortunately, Patty Seaton is not with us today, so we will not have visceral reactions to wrong and right answers, but we hope all of you have a good time as we launch polling now. Question number 1. Here we go.
So our first word, and my screen just got blocked and I can't see the word.
Wirtschaftsstabilisierung? Yeah.
Yeah. Wirtschaftsstabilisierungsfonds. Wirtschaftsstabilisierungsfonds. So is that economic relief funds or funds to research infection stabilization?
And if you're following in the chat, Mark Webb has volunteered to be Patty Seaton today. So,
yeah, for those of you whose first e-conference this may be, I live in Germany, but clearly from the accent, I'm American. And so I mercilessly stole a game that Christoph Waltz played on the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show. Because it made me laugh really hard. So I thought it would make all of you laugh as well. So
yeah, I think when we did the last e-conference last year, I believe it was like a 67 or 68 character word. And it was a doozy. It was a doozy. Yeah. All right. So with about 80% of precincts in, we just went up a little bit. About 40% of you think that it's economic relief funds. The other 60% funds to research infection stabilization. So I'm going to end the polling now. Anna, what is the correct answer?
That's kind of mean on this one because I threw that stabilization in there. But Wirtschaft is the economy. So these are this is like the German version of your STEMI checks, except they happen like every month here. So.
All right, let's go to question number 2.
My page keeps disappearing every time. Okay, so Spuckschutztrennscheibe. Spuckschutztrennscheibe. Is that the vial used to analyze saliva from a corona rapid test, or is that a spit guard?
Little known fact, this is Tim Spuck's actual last name. Ooh. About 85% of you have voted. We are essentially 50-50 right now between saliva vial and a spit guard. So let's go for a few more seconds as some of you continue to decide what your correct answer is.
It's after 5 here.
All right. So just about 50-50. Anna, what is our correct answer?
It looks like most of you got it correct by that slim margin. So Spuck is spit. Schutz is guard or protect. Trenn is divide, and Scheibe is like a plate or, yeah. So Trennscheibe is a spit guard or Schutztrennscheibe.
Wow.
You know what, Mary? It could have been spit shield could have been a word. It just wouldn't have been one maybe that was used quite so. I also don't really see buffets here for that to be so much of a thing. It's not like they don't exist. It's just I haven't seen them.
It's not a cultural staple like it is in parts of the U.S.
Correct.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Question number 3.
All right. So this is Mindestabstandsregelung. Mindestabstandsregelung. Is this your rules regarding the number of people allowed to meet privately indoors, or rules dictating social distance?
Ooh, and one of these is just really taken off.
And both of these are things. It's just which one is this one?
All right, now about 80% of the vote's in, and about 80% of the vote is going, well, 70% rules dictating social distance. So we'll let this one go. Usually we're getting about 45.
No.
Okay. All right. So we'll get to about a minute. Let everybody get their last votes in. I can't believe we've been doing this bit for over a year and it's still funny. You know, really, just great value. Great value. All right, let's share some results.
You all are helping me to assimilate into my new home. So
this is very stranger in a strange land. Like we've got to go. So rules dictating social distance, 70%. Anna, what is the correct answer?
This one, most of you got it correct. Mary, not always the longest answer. Sorry. So Mindestabstandsregelung is the rules dictating social distance. So Mindest is minimum, Abstand is distance, and Regelung is rules. I know, Mary. I know.
You follow your heart right into an incorrect answer.
Yep.
All right. And then our last one today, it's not a long German word, but it is an extremely topical one. Here we go.
Yes. And this one is much newer. So Impfneid. Impfneid. Is this envy of those who have been vaccinated or anger towards anti-maskers?
Ooh.
No, I know, Jeff, but it was extremely topical.
All right. So as we're coming up on about a minute, so we're going to have a 55-45 breakdown with the majority saying it's anger towards the anti-maskers. So let's go ahead and end that poll. Share some results. Anna, what is the correct answer?
Neid is envy. Impfen is to vaccinate. Impfstoff is vaccine. It is envy of those who have been vaccinated. And let me tell you right now, I have a huge amount of Impfneid. Huge amount. So this was a word actually that I'm friends with one of my old German TAs on Facebook, and she also has Impfneid and posted this. And this is a very new word.
All right, so those were our four for the week. Did anyone go 4 for 4? No? Wow. Good job, Anna. All right, how about 3s? Anybody get 3? Okay. Okay. Any 2s? And then we won't call out the 0s, but 0s and 1s. 0s and 1s.
Some people are volunteering that though.
Well, there are your 4 pandemic words of the week. And then as always, Anna's going to be posting these in the event page. So you'll be able to come back and relive this experience as many times as you'd like. So all the way from Berlin, thank you, Anna.
Thank you all for playing as always. And yeah, hope you all get vaccinated soon, even if I'm jealous of you. I want to see you all safe and see you all again at a conference this year.
Be nice. Be nice. All right, let's jump lakeside, head all the way over to Chicago and the record shop with Mike Smale.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everybody. We have 3 selections today we're going to take a look at. We'll show off these 3 records, share information in the chat about where you can track them down, where you can find them if they seem like the sort of thing you might enjoy. But to start us off, the first thing we have is an EP from indie pop rock act Charlie Bliss. This particular EP, it's 5 or 6 tracks that was left over after the sort of production of their most recent album. And this particular record is called Supermoon. Nice divisive term in the community. And there's a track on the EP called Supermoon, and it has a line in the lyrics where the lead vocalist laments missing out, not even being able to see the supermoon. But what's really fun about this, beyond just the music itself, is the actual record. This is a sort of color in color. There's a kind of a sky blue inside of a clear. It's a fun little effect you can get when pressing records these days. And looks good, sounds good, kind of ticks all the boxes. And it's, planetarium astronomy-ish adjacent. It is no bigger than normal records. Colin, this is just a regular 12-inch, regular sized LP. And I mean, you can, I don't know if I've seen this color in color. I definitely haven't seen it on any 7 inches. I don't know if I've seen it on a 10-inch either. Obviously, the more room you have to work with, the better it's going to look, because the more the inner color can spread out. But yeah, just a regular old 12-inch. It's 5 tracks total, 2 on one side, 3 on the other, and it is still widely available. Actually, both the LP and then also digital versions, pretty easy to track down. Still, it just came out, I think 2 years ago. I think 2019. So still pretty widely in print. But it's straight up pop rock. A little bit of an indie jangle on that, but fun, good spring summertime music for listening to. Next up, continuing with more recent releases, I have a record that came out last year, and it's a bit of a compilation. So there was a trio around in the late 90s. They're from California. They went by the name of, the band was called Duster, and they played sort of shoegaze, kind of slow, space adjacent music, sometimes called space rock. So music that has a little bit of a root in old sort of psychedelic or just big spacey kind of sounds. And Duster released a couple records over the years, and then the guys in the band had a side project that was called Valium Agolane. And Valium Agolane released 2 records back in the 90s, And then that was about it. But last year, there's a Chicago label called Numero that does a lot of old sort of like archival reissues. If you remember going all the way back to, I think it was the very first one of these sessions I did, I had a record that was a planisphere. It was a picture disc that works as a planisphere. That was put out by Numero as well. So kind of, found lost music is their specialty. But they put together a collection of the Valley of Magdalene releases called Black Moon. And it's nice and shiny. And of course, you've got a nice Black Moon there on the cover. It's a double LP, but what's actually really fun about Black Moon is you can crack it open and play a nice little game of moon trivia, because the entire artwork on the inside are just gigantic black and white pictures of Phobos and Titan and all your favorite moons. Mimas there. A good variety of the bunch. So good spacey sort of chill out music. The compilation was just put out last year, but again, the songs themselves go back a little bit longer than that. Oh, awesome! Glad to hear, Colin. Let's see, the Valley of Magdalene. So the compilation was called Black Moon, and one of the two releases they actually put out in the 90s was called plug your ears on a Here kommt der Schwarzmond. Here comes the Black Moon. And so they just bogarted the Black Moon name and used that for the re-release. The vinyl copies are out of print, but you can still get it digitally through their Bandcamp page. The link is on there. And you could also track down the record on the secondary market as well. All right, last but not least, going much older, but keeping with the German theme, a record that I don't actually remember how I first saw this. Maybe I stumbled across it on Discogs, or somebody stumbled across it on Discogs. And it is the soundtrack for the first show at the Zeiss-Gross Planetarium in Berlin. It is called Fantasticius Veltal, the inaugural opening program of the Zeiss-Gross Planetarium Berlin. And I mean, it's a true work of art, right? So I mean, let's appreciate this cover a little bit more, right? We've got the creepy Gatsby-esque eyes. We've got some nice, some space phenomena. We've got a crescent moon, maybe a comet there. We've got this sort of Martian surface all right in front of the Zeiss-Gross Planetarium. The planetarium opened in 1987, and the sort of iconography of the building even carries through onto the actual record label. You can see a nice little cartoon stylized drawing of Zeiss-Gross Planetarium. So the show itself, Fantasticius Veltal, translates to fantastic universe or fantastic space, something like that. And it is I don't speak German, right? But you can pick up a few words here and there. And it's sort of a tour of space, right? They go to a planet or two, they travel outside of the solar system. But what is absolutely just the best possible thing about this? So it's a dual narrator show. There's a male narrator and female narrator, and you start listening to the record, and it starts off with just a text introduction. So it's just somebody talking to you about what you're about to see, about the concept of a planetarium show. And then it jumps into a musical number, kind of a musical opening credits introduction. And it's this like Fantasia, Stravinsky, Rite of Spring, big, bright, wonderful music, setting for this. And then so the music goes away, and then you just hear this man's voice go, "Fantastic," and like I pretty much lost it at that point. And the rest of it's good too, but it's just like it starts on that note, and maybe Honor, somebody who actually speaks German, can listen to the whole thing and tell me what the rest of it is about. But it's still available. You can find it in the neighborhood of about $15 on Discogs, which is a record secondhand record shop that you can find online. That's what the bit.ly link there is. And obviously the Zeiss-Gross Planetarium, as far as I know, has not put out more records of their albums. There are some CDs floating around from old German planetarium productions, but as far as I know, this is the only Fantasticius Veltal is the only vinyl copy. So something new. Well, we got a couple things new, something old. But a good little variety of things here. And then let me host is disabled participant screen sharing. Thanks, Michael. Ein Minuten bitte.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. All right, and our delightful customary wrap-up screen there again. Charlie Bliss, Supermoon, your indie rock, Valley Magdalene, your weird atmospheric space music, and then the soundtrack from the first show at Gross Planetarium Berlin, Fantasticius Veltal. A good wide variety. The rest of the soundtrack of that Planetarium show, it's heavy on sort of classical instrumentation. It's got some quiet parts, got some bright parts, but it's very kind of a traditional sounding Planetarium show. But yeah, 3 records that I've been listening to lately. Hopefully you will find something you dig in there as well. But yeah, thanks for the time, and I'll give a look to the chat. I don't think I missed anything there, but yeah, thanks for sticking around. We'll see you all next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike, as always. And of course, our second to last recurring segment, but the one that gives information rather than makes you feel really good. Well, it makes whatever. I'm digging myself in a hole. It's time for the Primo Pandemic Podcast Party for your planetarian. Everybody, it's Mary Holt.
Woo! Hello, everyone. And just to preface this with that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the e-conference, I am low energy today and weird because I am post-vaccine, but that's a good thing. Vaccines, yay. So anyway, welcome to PPP, as I like to call it, because I find the name that I've created difficult to say. And somehow we've got a whole year and we're on episode 14. And I'm making up for my lack of enthusiasm, perhaps with the amount of exclamation points that I put on the screen. And today's episode is brought to you by the pandemic, vaccines, and as always, Squarespace. So, and if this is your first time joining us, I'm just gonna give you podcast recommendations because I love podcasts and that's how I spend a ridiculous amount of my time. So the first one is one that is actually extremely relevant to this group, I think, because we're all science, or most, if not all of us, are science educators in some way or another. So it's always good to be informed on the situation of climate change on our planet. And this is an absolutely wonderful and informative podcast to learn about that. So they talk about, you know, are we screwed or not, basically is the question they ask to every guest that they have on the show. And I'm surprised to say most of these guests say, no, not entirely. So it's also hopeful. It's a good one. And this one is called How to Save a Planet. My most recent favorite, because yes, believe it or not, I have somehow added on many new podcasts since last time we spoke, only a few months ago. But my most recent favorite is Scam Goddess, which is hilarious. And in every episode, she goes over historic scams that people have done, or also take guest submissions of recent scams they know of or have been a part of. And it is just delightful and hilarious. And you also learn things sometimes too. So it's great. The Cut I did mention on a previous episode and was very sad because it went away. They're back and better than ever, perhaps, or about the same. Either way, it's fantastic. They have a new host and every episode is just really informative and good and wonderful. And I'll share these slides later so you can actually read the descriptions in depth if you want to look them up later or ask me. I'm always happy to give recommendations to people too. And this is one that I've only listened to the first episode, but I heard about it on The Cut actually. And it's a story about 40 years ago. So what, that's in the math, 70s, 80s. In Houston, there was, shut up, Michael. Michael's laughing at me. There was a situation where there was a lot of police violence in Houston, and they like created this whole new squad of police officers, but gave them like no resources whatsoever. But they also like totally solved a bunch of crimes that had been unsolved for a really long time in their community. So I only listened to the first episode, so I can't tell you too much, but it seems very, very interesting and good reporting and stuff. And this one is quickly becoming a little less relevant since a lot of us are starting to be able to not have to stay in all the time. But I would say to get you over the last weeks or months or however much longer this pandemic is around, this delightful podcast I discovered called Staying In with Emily and Camille is them just talking about life and stuff, and kind of with the premise of these two have had to stay at home and quarantine a lot just generally in their life because Emily has a chronic illness. So they bring that kind of perspective to the show, and it's just really heartwarming and delightful, and I love it so much. Through Line is not a new one, but there's been a lot of really good episodes I've listened to, so I wanted to bring that one up again. Bananas is a new one that I learned about that is just them talking about ridiculous news stories, and it goes all over the place. It is Bananas. That is a correct title. And this one, for any of you Animal Crossing fans and or animal or plant fans out there, this is a crossover podcast where they talk about the animals and plants that are in Animal Crossing and the science of them and stuff. And I got into this one because they had Emily Grassley as a guest, and I followed her on Instagram and I love her. So she talked about one of the animals on there. It was a great conversation. And for one that's kind of niche, but was recommended by a fellow planetarium, thank you, Mike Smale. This podcast, they go through every chapter of the Bible and talk about it, and it is surprisingly interesting and very fun. So great one. I love this one. And this is one that probably a lot of people have heard of. This is one from the same team that did Serial, but this is a story all about specifically a school district it was in New York, yeah, and how, like, just trying to get better schools and how white parents play into that and like can either help or kind of deter getting good schools throughout all different neighborhoods and stuff in the New York area. So it's very interesting, very, very good stuff. Sorry, I'm drifting a little bit. Anyway, and just a quick reminder of a few ones that I listen to extremely regularly that are really quick and give you the news. And lastly, just a few random fun ones that I have been listening to more and or recently discovered. My favorite of which right now is Why Won't You Date Me, which has possibly the best podcast theme song I have ever heard. In close match to So Many White Guys, perhaps. I haven't decided which I like better, but be sure to listen to that one. So if anybody has any questions about those, I'd be happy to hear. Also, I have a document with a list of all these in the Dome Dialogues shared drive or whatever, and it has a link to these slides as well, so you can always look it up later. But I don't know, Michael, were there any questions?
A lot of agreement on some of the podcasts. So
nice.
As always, great work.
Yes, as always, thank you for listening to me ramble about podcasts at you.
As always, thank you, Mary, and those will get posted, and you can look those up for yourselves and enjoy them. And then to finish us off today is something that Renee Kerrigan has done for a very long time, but we added in sort of like, I think the last third of the conferences, and that was to try to find the good things in the difficult times. And so what she has requested for this conference, and I think it's the right way to go, is the best parts of the year. And because that's pretty much Renee's thing, I'm going to turn it over to her and let her lead the end of our e-conference today.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks everyone for playing along with my game that I started. I think I shared this before, but for folks who haven't heard why I started playing this game, it was because back in 2012 we opened the Peoria Riverfront Museum. We were Lakeview Museum first. It was much smaller, and then we moved downtown. We opened this new big museum. And we had all these expectations for how great it would go. And in the first year, we lost $1.5 million. And we had expanded our staff, and then we had like layoffs, and like the morale was awful. It was like the worst working environment. Everyone was stressed. Everyone was afraid that the museum might just close, that we might all lose our jobs. And so my mom, who is very smart, gave me some good advice. And she just said, just find one good thing in your day. Just find one good thing in your day. And so before I left work, I got into a habit of asking some of my friends, what was your one good thing that happened today? What was your one good thing? So now this game has evolved into every day at dinner, I ask, what was the best part of your day? And so that's what we've been doing at these e-conferences as well. And if you see me in real life, you will be asked it at least once in the day from me. And I did ask if somebody wanted to share oh, right. And Shannon's right. There's a rule. You cannot say right now, because if you do, everyone will try to say it. So you have to pick something that's not right now. And if you're eating dinner, you can't say eating dinner, because then everybody will say eating dinner. So if you're going to play my game, those are my rules anyway. Some folks sent me some pictures, but I'm not going to talk about your best part. You have to talk about your best part. But if we want to start with the pictures that got sent, Michael, can I share screen?
You're all clear.
Okay. Just a moment.
¿Dónde nos van a anunciar?
¿Nos van a anunciar qué?
Oh, of course, I have way too many tabs open to do this properly. Oh, and I'm going to get really confused because I made a Google Slides, and when you share a Google Slides presentation, it's not easy. Okay. Okay, I don't care that you can see my other tabs, because if I make it full screen, I lose all my controls. So Jay sent me the first one. Jay Heck sent me the first one. So Jay, what do you want to tell us about the best part of your year?
Hi, everybody. So the best part, we installed a new laser system in the IMAX theater in Michigan, in Detroit, Michigan Science Center. And that went in February, and they're just starting to run shows now as they're allowed to open up. And so we're expecting great things in Detroit. That's it.
It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Mario, are you still on the call? I can't see if he is or not. Is Mario still on? Mario sent me his best parts.
That's Marco.
Marco, I'm sorry. Marco.
Okay, then it's me.
Okay.
Okay, let's get on with this one.
Yeah. There.
So we had several things we could do this year. When we started the pandemic, well, we thought about the virtual visits, and yeah, we developed the program. Not many institutions were like in conditions to get that, but we have the product right now. We also did the Planetarium Wonders video. That's a full-on production that we shared for the International Day of Planetariums last year. We made our own productions like Historias en el Firmamento, which was about the constellations. Well, meeting with all of you was the best part, so that's why I put it there. Then we developed our virtual lenses, virtual reality lenses, and 3D with my kids, so you have them there. And a good part was that you shared a big astronomy program. So we had that transmission for virtual reality lenses. And a couple of months ago, we could show the program in Spanish using our portable planetarium in astronomy camp. And that looks like it's happening today again. So maybe we'll show that. And obviously what I told you at the beginning, well, we need the week with the German guys there. So I think that's going to be really, really amazing. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so this is what I always have trouble sharing a Google Slides presentation. Uh-oh, okay. Guillaume, I'm not going to say it right. Guillaume sent me in a picture.
Oh. Hi, everyone. It's hard, I know. Guilherme, it's the name.
Guilherme.
Each year we close our year celebrating all activities we do the whole year with a special show. This time we did it virtually. And here I am as a NASA engineer, and my colleagues are Perseverance and Ingenuity. This was the show that we presented by the end of the year, in the beginning of.
Okay. I can't tell if I'm frozen or if somebody else is frozen. Can you guys hear me? Thumbs up. Okay. Susan Button sent me some best parts as well. And two of the pictures, that's what happened, is two of the pictures had loaded, but I'm sorry, Susan, it looks like something happened with your berries and your cardinal that you sent me.
Okay, so the cardinal was cocking his head sideways and very cute. I've been enjoying all the different birds even more because I'm home all the time. And food from our garden, of course, we had raspberries and blueberries, and then, of course, lettuce and all those other great things. The other thing was my neighbor used her pandemic monies to buy this giraffe to put in their yard. And they called the giraffe Nancy after Nancy Pelosi. And it's entertaining for the whole neighborhood. And the last one is cooking by Zooming with my granddaughter and my daughter at Christmas time. They all made cookies and I made cookies, and we shared the fun and laughter.
That sounds really nice. Cooking via Zoom is something new this year, I think. Rachel sent me in a picture and a video, and I'm going to try to go full screen again so I can see if this video will share, but I'll let Rachel tell us about it.
So I battle really every day with moderate to severe depression and anxiety that has gotten a lot worse over the years. And through this pandemic, like a lot of the ways I kind of vent and deal with and cope with that are no longer an option. So I've really struggled this year. But on the bright side of things, especially like during lockdown, I got to actually spend a little bit more time with my 2-year-old daughter that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So I try to look at the bright side of things, and her little laugh is what got me through.
You are so silly.
She's grabbing her stomach.
It's pretty impossible not to smile when you can hear that laugh.
Yes, I was to say, it's sometimes, I mean, on the hardest days, that is what got me through the day, is coming home to hear that.
There you go.
We were trying to teach her how to high five, and I don't know why she found it so funny, but she just thought it was hilarious.
The only other pictures I have are mine, but then I'd love to hear from other people. So I know you might not have wanted to send me a picture, and that's fine, but I'd love to hear from anyone else as we are closing out our conference about the best parts of your year. So let me just real quick, since I don't want to stop screen sharing, I will share my pictures. So, oh, wait, oh, good, we get to hear the laugh again. I have like a set of professional and personal ones to share. So, professionally, there's a silly video down at the bottom is me doing a happy dance because we finally got the funds to upgrade my planetarium digital projectors this year. We've been limping along with a 13-year-old digital projection system, and so we're going to be upgrading, and we're going to be upgrading in May. So there's a lot of work to be done, but it's really, really exciting that we're going to finally have upgraded digital projectors. So I'm really excited about that. And then I was just realizing that I've been doing these What's Up videos for my museum for a year now. We started last March, actually right before the pandemic was when we started doing it, but then we kept going. I did them in my dining room with my husband as a cameraman at some of the times. I did them here at the museum, and we have 60 videos, and they're just simple little videos, but it feels nice to have had that consistent thing, and I've had a lot of good feedback from them, from museum members and people who follow us on social media. So those are my two professional best parts of the year, and then the other ones, I'm sure everyone already knows, but I have my daughter, Rosemary, in April of last year. So this was her 11-month picture. And I bought a new home this year as well. It was my grandparents' house, and we've been fixing it up over the past couple of months. So those have been two bright spots in a year that's been harder than normal. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but I see some hands up. So let me just, I guess I'll just call on hands that are up. So Diana, do you want to tell us about the best part of your year?
Yeah, so over the last year, putting on new hats and doing some different things. One of those new hats has been kindergarten teacher. We're doing virtual learning, and kids come in and Zoom in with their regular teachers, and we help them with their schoolwork. So for the first time, I'm really engaging with 5 to 8-year-olds. So just the energy and how happy those children are almost all the time has just been fantastic. I love working with those itty bitties, and I'm so glad I had the opportunity to do that for the first time, really.
Anna, your hand's up.
Yeah, so I'm pretty close with my family, and so Christmas over the last year was something that I was looking forward to, and then also getting really depressed about, and I was really worried about how that was going to go because I've never spent Christmas away from my parents in the 34 years of my life, and my grandparents and the whole family. But I spent Christmas with my boyfriend and his family, and it was really cool to spend a German Christmas, and everybody just treated me like I was part of the family. And it was really nice I really expected to be depressed over Christmas, and I wasn't at all. And I, of course, got to FaceTime with my family too, but that was nice. And then my parents also gave me the best Christmas present ever, which some of you have already seen. And sorry, baby. One last time. This is Lilaps. She's been with me for 3 weeks. She's a rescue from Ukraine. So she was supposed to come at Christmas, but then Corona. But they finally got her to me, and she's a good girl. Everything kind of scares her still right now, but she's a cuddle bug, and she is just the best. And when everything feels awful, we go for a walk, and everything feels better.
I'm glad I finally know how to say her name. It sounds different than it looks.
Yeah.
Tony, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so like you, Renee, and a few other folks too, I became a father for the first time back in May. So this is my son, Jojo, or Joseph is his full name. So he's 10 months now. So it's been really, really incredible to have some extra time to be at home around him. And so that's been really, really wonderful to kind of get to spend the year. And then professionally here at Bishop Museum in Honolulu, we just upgraded our projectors to 4K laser phosphor. So I'm really excited to not have lamps anymore to replace. And it's very bright. There's parts of our movies that I've never seen before. So yeah, we're very excited about that here. So yeah.
It's fantastic. Mark Percy.
Can somebody make it so I can share his screen? So I have not done a live event during a landing, at least not in a long time. But it turned out that the Perseverance landing was right in the middle of our winter break part 2. And the timing was wonderful, right in the middle of the afternoon. So big shout out to Jackie Bauman for helping me with that event. And I just wanted to share one image from that. This is a screen capture I took. So you can see our presenter from JPL talking about something, but draw your attention to that little kid up in the top. As the last seconds came, I could see on those little video windows several kids with their fingers crossed and their eyes closed. And it was just so fun and exciting to actually be part of that.
Watching Perseverance has been, I think, probably for lots of us, a bright spot in our year. It's been so fun to have that exciting new mission to follow. I thought I saw a hand up. Howard, if you don't want to talk, you don't have to, but I thought I saw your hand up earlier. Did you have something you wanted to share?
No, I think I was clapping, or maybe I was saying hi to the dogs and congratulations to the new parents, yourself included, by the way. Jackie has her hand up.
Oh, Jackie, yeah.
All right, so, I'm here in Buffalo in the Great White North too. So it's like, haven't been able to go home and see my family in a year, which, is weird. It's weird. But what was kind of cool is that I got to be home with my husband and my daughter, Andromeda, and get to see her like grow and like her brain developing and stuff like that. And so how does this work? Can you see? I don't know. But it's like she's God, it's like every day she just seems to get smarter and smarter. So she knows the dwarf planets. She knows how she's going to be 3 in like a couple weeks. She knows the dwarf planets, knows all the regular planets. And like just like a few weeks ago, she like counted up to 115. It's like, she's just getting so smart. And I'm just so like with all the stresses and everything, it's just like being able to see her mind grow and being able to experience this has been like the great. So, that's about it.
Tiffany.
So I mentioned earlier I had a baby. I was going to try what Jackie did. I don't know. Yeah, you can't see it, huh? This is my kiddo, Leon.
Yeah.
So he is 3 months old, and he's a big old baby, big and healthy. And so, yeah, going through the pandemic pregnant, it sounds like really terrifying, but when I was in it, it was very zen. I was just like, this is where I'm at. This is my reality. We're here. We're doing it. And I would walk almost every day and listen to LeVar Burton Reads, the podcast. Shout out to Mary. She mentioned it before in one of her segments. And it was just, that was a real highlight. And having some regular, like monthly meetups with some friends on Zoom, just catching up and, I don't know, finding ways to be friends and to maintain your relationships that you care about in different ways was a highlight for me this year.
And Michael, you virtually raised your hand.
Yeah, it's been a year, but I think for me, it's where the personal and the professional sort of the transition between those two, the distinctions between those two have been quite blurred. first, like, thank you all who were able to vote for not voting for my opponent during the IPS presidency. That was great. I was finger biting the whole time, like didn't know what was going to happen. And then I think my best part of the year, other than the fact that we've been able to do all of this, is I got married and got married to another planetarian, which just means that I can't distinguish between when work ends and personal life begins. So that's been fun. That's been fun.
Dan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Well, since everyone else was, I figured I'd piggyback on everyone else bragging about their child. So, I mean, yeah, that has been the best part of my year too. Is I think those who I've talked to about it, know my wife is a municipal budget manager, which is a job that has not had a lot of time off in the last year. In fact, has only gotten more intense. And that has really left me as the primary caregiver for our daughter for the last year. So I've really been sacrificing the planetarium work to spend time with her, but it has been this amazing experience of, she turned 1 last February and she just turned 1 last month, or 2 last month. And I mean, yeah, all the people who have like new babies, it's great, but also like the 1 to 2 year age span has been like this amazing time to get to spend with her one-on-one and in person. That's really been the special part of the pandemic, is like, it's been stressful and tiring and exhausting at times, but like seeing someone develop and turn into a person has been awesome. And her current thing is like, she's got this little, not planetarium quality or realistic, but a star projector in her room, and she's obsessed with turning it on and taking it apart. Yeah, very fun seeing a burgeoning planetarian, as it were. And I can't wait to be able to take her to the museum and show her the real experience, because I think she's going to lose it. And just beyond that, of course, another thing that really was a highlight, and seeing Mark up there reminded me to say this, is, as GLIPA president-elect, I've been doing the GLIPA nominations committee. And in that role, I've gotten to talk to a lot of planetarians about, like, do you want to run for office? And what's been amazingly heartening about that is talking to so many of my friends and colleagues here, and just hearing in these one-on-one conversations, like, what these planetarium professional organizations mean to you. And just this reminder of, like, I've said many times, I feel like my life has been changed and shaped by my experience with GLIPA and IPS and Doug, and hearing that so many other people have this feeling as well, that these professional conferences gave you something you would not otherwise have in life, and you want to get back to that experience. And just being reminded that, like, this is a shared experience within our community. Like, many of you are among my best friends. Some of you I talk to almost every day, and that's what's kept me going in this pandemic. And getting to hear that firsthand from so many people in the last couple of months has been really heartening and encouraging, and makes me unable to like wait until we get to see each other again, hopefully later this year.
Everyone knock on wood, or cross your fingers, or press your thumbs, so we don't jinx ourselves. Mike Murray.
Hi, everybody. It sure is good to see everybody's face. And one of the highlights has been these conferences. Thank you, Michael. Being able to see and catch up with everybody on a personal as well as professional viewpoint. It's made a lot. I've really worked a lot harder to be grateful for a lot of what I have instead of what I don't. And I've tried to always find something to be grateful about every day. And having to work from home so much, I really needed the support of my kids. And so if I could get the share screen for just a second, everybody likes sharing their pictures of their children. And so I've got some too.
Go ahead, Mike.
There we go. Let's see. Aha, here we go. These are my children. So, we've had German Shepherds for over 20 years, and one of them has always been a service animal for my wife. But they are more than just pets, and they're definitely more than just service animals. They've kept our sanity. So at times when I'm hanging out at home and I'm going through the roller coaster, I get down there with my girls. That's Alice on the top. She's 13. And that's Heidi at the bottom. She's almost 9. And Heidi is the active service animal now. So yeah, pets have not been just pets. They've been family. and they have done more for our mental health than I can describe. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing. I don't know if we have any more hands up. Anyone else? Best parts of their year?
I'll jump in, Renee.
Yeah.
I would just like to kind of build a little bit on what Dan was saying and thank Michael McConville for putting this together and creating Dome Dialogues. We are very lucky that this pandemic happened in this time when we do have this technology to communicate with each other. And I think that it has actually made our community stronger. And if this had happened 10 years ago, this could have been just a horrible situation for everybody that would take years to recover from. And I think that, you know, the next year is going to look better, and 2022 is going to be even better yet. So, you know, count your lucky stars.
I agree with that. We've had a lot of ways to stay connected that we wouldn't have had 5 years ago, or, you know, certainly not 10 years ago. Well, I know we are well over the hour mark now. We're at 3:15 where I live. I don't know if, I think Michael even had to run. So who's the host now?
I am.
Anna is. Anna, do you want to sign us off with any words of wisdom?
Wisdom, I don't know about that. But just piggybacking off of everyone else, it's really good to see everybody's face again. I really miss seeing you all, especially in person. And this community is just something that is, I haven't experienced. I've done other jobs, and it's nothing like the planetarium community. We have something truly special here. So please, all of you, stay safe and healthy so we can see each other again soon, hopefully. And I'm going to see if I can figure out how to unmute you all so you can say whatever you want. Yes. Wait. Well, you can all unmute yourselves now.
Yeah. Just muted everyone instead.
I'm glad to see you all.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see everybody.
I'll leave everyone with a view of my guinea pigs. Which I just realized it's almost been a full year. I got them in April, so. Yay.
Our house was a zoo when I grew up. We had everything.
Oh, puppy. Mark's got a puppy.
Aww.
Good to see y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Great to see you.
Take care.
Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good to see you, Howard.
I'm going to keep waving. I'm not going anywhere. I'm the only one left in the office here. So, Anna, it's great to see you. And I'm a huge fan of your dog. And
thanks.
Lee Laps.
Yeah.
Okay, because
So Jackie actually helped me with the name. Yeah. So Jackie, I was trying to come up with a name that was astronomy related, and I didn't want to name her Sirius because everybody uses Sirius because of Harry Potter. And so Jackie was the one who was like, well, what was the name of the dog that became Canis Major, and looked it up and found it. And so that's how she got her name. Jackie helped me with that.
What's the name of Marvin the Martian's dog?
Is it? No, it's not Pluto.
No.
Disney would never allow that.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's good to see you too, Jackie. Your masks are, I'm representing here in St. Louis.
I'm glad.
Yeah, my daughter, that's her favorite mask, so she
Well,
wears
great.
it.
If she wants any other different designs, like, don't be afraid to tell me. make whatever colors.
Well, I bought the 10 that I got from you are going to last.
Oh, good. I'm not the only one buying hordes of stuff from Jackie's store.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
Maybe if I actually like not fall asleep in the middle of the day and not use up my free time to sleep, maybe I'll actually like put more things in the store. So, but I'm glad this e-conference was happening because I just did a bunch. I just practiced doing pixel art of Jupiter. So, because Andromeda has this really cool shirt that is inaccurate with how the planets look. So I'm going to make sure she has an accurate planet shirt and it's kind of pixelated. So, yeah. And I've just been meaning to get around to it. And so now I'm getting around to it. So,
I would be interested in seeing that design possibly in your store.
Yeah. Well, like, I have Jupiter right now, but see, can I share yeah, I'm going to share my screen right now. Wait, no, I can't. It says no.